After the successful outcome of the Greek defense during the first 12 days of the war, the Greek general headquarters decided to take the initiative and start a general counteroffensive. The Third Corps had already submitted plans for a counteroffensive on November 6th. The Commander-in-Chief, General Papagos, thought that the plans were too ambitious for the moment and postponed the offensive for November 14th. The Italian forces had been reorganized into two armies. The 9th Army formed out of the 26th Corps, with 4 infantry divisions and 2 Alpine divisions. And the 11th Army formed out of the 25th Corps, with 3 infantry divisions, 1 armored division, and the remnants of the cavalry division. The Greek order of battle consisted of the 1st Corps on the coastal sector, and the Western Macedonia Army section with the 2nd Corps in the Pindus sector, and the 3rd Corps in Western Macedonia. The main objective for the 3rd Corps was at Korcha. Capture of this town and the plateau would give the Greeks swift access to the interior of Albania, and potentially the chance to encircle any Italian units on the left flank of the 3rd Corps. 1st and 2nd Corps would push forward to evict the Italian forces from Greek territory. Strategically speaking, the Greeks needed a decisive victory that would compel Italy to negotiate a ceasefire or truce. On November 14th, the 3rd Corps attacked with the 9th, 10th, and 15th Divisions. The Italians were taken by surprise because the attack was not preceded by an artillery barrage. By November 16th, the Greeks had breached the Italian line and captured many of the small villages in the mountains. On November 17th, the 3rd Corps was reinforced by the 13th Division, which was ordered to attack the next day between the 9th and the 15th Divisions. The attack of the 13th Division was the only one that failed during the Greek counteroffensive. As the chosen regiment of the division was waiting for the signal to attack under cover of darkness and heavy rain, it was suddenly ordered to relocate and change the direction of the attack. The regiment accidentally made contact with the enemy. 2 of its battalions got pinned down by machine gun fire, while the other 2 battalions were attacked by Italian bombers and then retreated. The commander of the 13th Division was fired on the spot, and the arrival of the 11th Division on November 19th restored the front. On the same day, the 13th, 11th, and 10th Divisions were combined into a group of divisions that was named the K Group, commanded by Lieutenant General George Kosmas. It took the Greeks 2 more days of intense fighting to capture the mountains in front of Korcha. Fearing that they would be surrounded, the Italians began to retreat as the Greek 9th Division pressed the attack and captured Korcha on November 22nd. The Greeks also captured 2,000 prisoners, 135 field guns, and 600 machine guns. The capture of Korcha within a month since the outbreak of the war increased the morale of the army and the people. Most of the surviving elements of the 9th Army were able to escape as the Greeks were poorly motorized and couldn't give chase. By November 27th, the entire plateau was under Greek control. So far, the casualties of the 3rd Corps were 624 dead and 2,348 wounded. Now, the Greeks could either continue the offensive in the direction of Elbasan or shift the focus to the left flank and drive towards the port of Vlora. The general headquarters chose Vlora as the next objective. Capture of this port would leave the Italians only with the port at Durrës and deteriorate the Italian supply situation even more. From now on, 1st and 2nd Corps would play a more decisive role, while the 3rd Corps would carry out smaller attacks to allow the rest of the Greek forces to level with it. The 1st Corps was reinforced by the 3rd Division, and the 2nd Corps was reinforced by the 11th Division of the K Group. Both formations moved into Albania on November 24th, starting a campaign that didn't stop until the end of the year, despite the atrocious weather and heavy snowfall. The Greek advance slowed down on December 22nd after the 1st Corps captured Himara. The 8th Division, together with the Lumbus detachment, had suffered the majority of casualties and were moved back into reserve. After 2 months, the Greeks had accomplished more than anyone ever expected, earning the respect of all of Europe. But now the worsening supply situation combined with bad weather, increasing desertions, and the stiffening Italian resistance made it impossible for the Greeks to continue their advance. The Greek general headquarters decided on December 28th to halt all large-scale offensive operations until the weather improved. This decision took effect on January 6th, which marks the end of the Greek counteroffensive in Albania. Throughout January, the Greeks carried out only small local operations to improve their line. The most significant of those was at the KoolaDoora Pass, where both sides suffered heavy casualties after a series of battles that lasted until mid-February. By early February, the Greek army was down to less than 2 months of artillery ammunition and had shortages in every area of materials and even food. Meanwhile, the British were urging the Greeks to fight on, promising material support and the deployment of more forces on the Greek mainland. During a meeting of British and Greek military and political leaders in Athens on January 15th, General Papagos asked for 9 fully equipped divisions and correspondent air support. Prime Minister Metaxas proposed a joint offensive in the Balkans using the gained territories in Albania as a base of operations. The British rejected the plan because it would endanger their operations in North Africa and responded that all they could offer immediately was a force of less than a division's strength. The Greeks feared that such a small force would only encourage the Germans to attack. Metaxas in particular realized that British support was a double-edged sword when the Germans decided to intervene on November 4, 1940. That was 4 days after the first British troops had arrived on the island of Crete. The need to transfer troops back to the Metaxas line for the forthcoming German invasion forced Papagos to launch in February one final push to capture Vlora as quickly as possible. This desperate attack failed without significant gains for the Greeks. Now the initiative passed again to the Italians, who were building up their forces for one more offensive on the center of the front before the start of the German invasion.